The tranquil hum of Navarro's bustling streets, once a haven for bounty hunters and back-alley dealings, had transformed into something far more serene. Sunlight dappled through the canopy of the grand tree that housed the new school, a place where younglings, including a certain small green foundling, were learning the ways of their respective creeds and the basics of galactic citizenship. Grogu, with his ears twitching at every new sound, was a beacon of hope, his presence symbolizing a gentle, burgeoning future for the Mandalorian covert that had found a temporary home here. Days passed in a rhythm of quiet lessons, shared meals, and the distant, comforting clang of the forge. But peace, even on a reformed world, is a fragile thing. One searing Navarro afternoon, the sky, usually a canvas of soft blues, was suddenly marred by the jagged shadows of pirate vessels, their engines screaming a cacophony of malice. These weren't mere scavengers, this was a calculated assault, precise and brutal. The school, in particular, became a target, a symbol of the order Gorian shards sought to dismantle, and then he descended. Gorian Shard was unlike any pirate leader seen before. His very being was an unsettling blend of organic and artificial, his skin a patchwork of mossy, almost bark-like growths, with tendrils and roots seemingly coiling beneath his tattered robes. His eyes, like amber sap, held an ancient, malevolent glint, and the air around him seemed to crackle with an unholy static. He was a creature of the swamp, of decay, brought into the light to sow chaos. His intentions were clear: plunder, destruction, and a chilling disregard for life, especially that of the vulnerable younglings within the school. The initial moments were pure pandemonium. Alarms blared, screams echoed, and the protective instincts of the scattered Mandalorians residing on Navarro ignited. Din Djarin, ever vigilant, was immediately there, a flash of Beskar steel and unflinching resolve, his primary focus on Grogu. He moved with a speed born of fierce love, shielding the foundling, pushing him towards the relative safety of the school's deeper chambers. But it was clear, this was too vast an enemy for one Mandalorian or even a small covert to repel alone. Shard's forces, a ragged but numerous army, swarmed the streets, their blaster fire tearing through the newly built structures. Just as despair began to settle in, a new set of blips appeared on the horizon. Not pirate ships this time, but the sleek, angular forms of Mandalorian starfighters. Bo-Katan Kryze and her loyal night owls, drawn by the distress signals, by the sheer audacity of an attack on their people's sanctuary, arrived like avenging angels. The sky above Navarro became a swirling maelstrom of light and sound, screeching TIE fighters of Shard's fleet clashing with agile Fang fighters, blaster fire lancing across the azure. On the ground, a different kind of battle raged. The arrival of Bo-Katan's forces meant an immediate shift in momentum. Where individual Mandalorians had fought valiantly but defensively, now there was coordination, a tactical response born of shared heritage. The differences that had fragmented their people, the old rivalries between the Children of the Watch and Bo-Katan's followers, seemed to melt away under the intense heat of the immediate threat. They were no longer distinct factions, they were Mandalorians, united by the single primal instinct to protect their home, their children, their future. Din and Bo-Katan, despite their past disagreements, moved with an unspoken understanding. He fought with the ferocity of a protective father, she with the strategic mind of a seasoned warrior leader. They saw each other not as rivals, but as complements, two halves of a greater whole. The cries of "This is the way" mingled with the guttural shouts of battle, but now those words carried a deeper meaning. It wasn't just a creed, it was a rallying cry for unity. The tide turned. Shard's pirates, expecting an easy raid on a supposedly undefended settlement, found themselves facing the full, terrifying might of a people rediscovering their collective strength. The plant-like pirate lord, for all his grotesque power, was unprepared for the result wall of Beskar and skill that met his advance. His forces were routed, pushed back, until Shard himself was forced to retreat, leaving behind a trail of destruction and a valuable hard-won lesson. As the last echoes of blaster fire faded and the smoke began to clear, an unfamiliar quiet descended upon Navarro. The immediate danger was past, but the air thrummed with a new energy, a palpable shift. Mandalorians, dusty and scarred but unbroken, looked at each other with a renewed sense of kinship. Grogu, safely nestled in Din's arms, watched with wide, curious eyes as his protectors, once fragmented, now stood shoulder to shoulder. This was Grogu's Crucible, a trial by fire that forged scattered remnants into a unified force. The attack by Gorian Shard, gruesome and terrifying as it was, served as an undeniable catalyst. It forced the Mandalorians to look beyond their individual enclaves and their differing interpretations of the way. It reminded them in the most visceral way possible that their true strength lies not in isolation, but in their collective identity, their shared history, and their common future. It was in the quiet aftermath of this desperate defense that a decision, long whispered in shadows, began to take firm shape. The time for hiding was over. The time for dreaming of Mandalore was past. The time for action had arrived. With Din Djarin, the reluctant hero and keeper of the Darksaber, and Bo-Katan Kryze, the rightful heir and strategic commander, now standing as a unified leadership, the path was clear. The reconquest of Mandalore, the reclaiming of their ancestral home, was no longer a distant hope. It was an imminent crusade. This attack had not only defended Grogu's school, it had ignited the spark of Mandalore's return, pushing his people out of the shadows and back onto the galactic stage, ready to forge a new, hopeful future for their people, together. This story, like so many others, reminds us that even in the face of destruction, a new path can be forged. What are your thoughts on how pivotal this moment was for the Mandalorians? Share your insights and join the conversation in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey through a crucial moment in galactic history, consider following for more stories and reflections. Until next time, may the Force be with you.